What are you guys doing here? Yeah, that's a bit overkill. Challenge accepted. Alright, the gauntlet has been thrown down by Bart's Craft and Frankie D. Crafter. The idea of the challenge is to make cheap dungeon tiles. So I'm going to get my brother involved and we're going to do it. Okay, keeping with the theme of this challenge, I went to my box of random cardboard. And I found pizza boxes. Now I went to my box of scraps and I pulled out a bunch of little scraps of dollar store foam. All I need for this project is a knife, a pen, and a ruler. And I cut out some dungeon tiles. I did 3 by 3. I also wanted to do a few tiles that were 2 by 4. So I cut those out. And then I moved on to my foam. Now for the foam, I just wanted to make little square pieces, so I cut out a bunch of, didn't measure here, I probably should have, but I didn't, and I just measured a bunch of little pieces of foam, and then I began the process of ripping off all the sides to every little piece to give it that stone texture. Now yes, this took a while, and it took a while, but I sat there for about an hour, and I ripped off every little piece of foam on the corners of these pieces. There you have it. And then I measured them and realized, holy crap, they need to be smaller. So guess what I did? That's right, I went through all of the pieces and I made them smaller. Now they just needed a little texture. Of course, I could have done this ahead of time. And then I tried to spray paint them black. Well, that didn't work. So I turned to my homemade Mod Podge, which is actually just black paint and starch. It works really good, actually. It's a great substitute for the actual Mod Podge. Now, I didn't worry about getting my hands dirty at this time because I needed to save the gloves for obvious reasons. Now I turn to the tiles themselves, and I used here some bright yellow and some bright red. Now if you dip your brush into both colors, you'll see here it just creates an incredible fiery look as you paint it. And I found that having a little more yellow on your brush than red really makes it pop out. Now I turned to some pewter gray once my black pieces were dry, and I did a little heavy dry brush around every little piece just to pop out that stone texture. And then I glued them onto the tiles themselves in random positions just to kind of signify the grid. And you'll see here when they're done, they just look like a little grid. There you have it. I think they look great. Now the last step I'm going to do is I'm going to paint the sides black because I didn't really want the cardboard showing as much as it was. So I put a little black tint on the outside. And you can see here with some shots on my table in combination with my other terrain, they just look phenomenal. So if your players are going to encounter lava inside their dungeon, consider making lava tiles. Alright, that's it for me. I think they came out really cool. Let's go see what my brother has in store.
Hey everybody, John here from the Crafting Brothers. Today is all about dungeon tiles. And on the cheap too. So I'm digging into my box of scraps and I'm going to use some cardboard boxes. I've got some cardstock in here. I've decided not to use any foam on this project, so we're just going to stick with cardboard. I've done so many regular dungeon tiles that I decided to experiment a little bit, and I'm going to actually make a seaport out of dungeon tiles, so check it out. I'm going to be using 2 different size tiles here. So the first one is going to be 6 centimeters by 12 centimeters, and then I'll move on to the bigger ones, which are going to be 9 by 15. I'm going to need quite a few of these small ones, so I'm going to cut about 15 pieces out. Next, I'm going to try a new technique that I've never done before. I've got this joint compound that I bought for dirt cheap. What I'm going to do is take a paintbrush and I'm going to just apply a texture onto the cardstock here. And by the time I coat the whole piece, I'm planning to cut them up into the little square pieces for the tops of the dungeon tiles. Now, using the same technique, I'm going to create a wood texture by brushing the same joint compound over the surface of the cardboard, and that should give me a wood texture. I decided to add some additional wood grain into the joint compound by using this wire brush, and just by wiping it across while it's still wet, it gave me a good wood grain. Next, I started cutting out my larger 9 by 15 centimeter pieces, and these are going to be used for the dungeon tile dock, which is going to be wood. And I'm going to need about 4 pieces of these. Okay, the layout of the dock here is coming out pretty good so far. I just need a few more pieces, a couple more 9 by 15s. I've got enough of these for the landing. This is going to be the dock, and these will actually be the 2 docks here. Okay, there we go. There's our dock pieces. Next, I'm going to cut out some wood pieces, which are going to be the wood pillars that go underneath the dock. So I'm going to glue these all on now, and they will get painted later. Now back to my cardboard stock with the wood grain pattern on here. What I'm going to do is measure these out to 2.5 centimeters, and I'm going to cut them in squares so that I can use them for the tops of the dungeon tiles. I'm going to cut 2 strips at a time here so I can save a little bit of time. Now I'm ready to start gluing my dock wood tile pieces on here. So I just got a little bit of white glue. This next step that I'm going to do here is an extra step that you don't have to do. I just, when I build these multi-layer tiles, there's a lot of that cardboard showing there, and it does sort of kind of bother me. So what I'm going to do is, since I have plenty of this all-purpose joint compound, I'm going to go ahead and spackle my cardboard. So this is going to obviously add a little extra work, but I think this is really going to clean up how this looks. So let's go ahead and fill the cardboard. Here's all my unfinished pieces here. Some of these I painted just to explore some of the finishes, but basically these are all the dock parts here. These are going to be the part of the landing, and then these are going to be the top parts of the landing. And so I've just got to Mod Podge everything, and then we'll start doing our painting. I'm also cutting out pillars which are going to go on top of the pier. Next, I decided that if I'm going to have piers, I've got to have boats for the piers. So I'm going to make a few of these to add to the project. These are pretty simple to make out of cardboard, and then by just using some card stock, I can make the rails for the tops of the boats, and we're done. Okay, I'm in the painting phase of my tiles here, and what I need to do is I've got several different kinds of tiles here. These are just going to be standard dungeon type tiles for walking on, as though they are a pathway. These are going to be a part of a dock, so this is going to be a different color. It's going to be like a concrete dock. Over here I've got all the dock pieces, and these tiles on here, if you can see that, are made with that wood grain. So I'm going to be painting these with some sort of a wood finish, and then the boats I'll probably do some sort of a brown coloring on those. And let's get that finished up. For the regular dungeon tiles here, I'm going to start with a pewter gray dry brush. Next, for the tiles that are going to be a part of the landing, I'm going to use a burnt umber here, and this is just a dry brush. After the burnt umber, I went over this with a buttermilk dry brush. The docks are going to get a dry brushing of nutmeg. After that, I'm going to go ahead and hit the boats with a burnt umber. I've got 2 extra dungeon tile pieces which are going to be walkways, so I'm just hitting these with a white dry brush. Back to the docks. After I finish doing the dry brushing of nutmeg, I'm going to go ahead and apply a golden brown dry brush on top of that, and that will give it a good wood texture. I'm also hitting all of the pillars that are going to go on top of the pier. Okay, now I'm ready to dry brush these boats with a khaki tan. I'm not sure dry brushing works with cardboard. Yeah, that's what I thought. This looks like I'll leave these. All right, these are the dock sections, and we're going to go ahead and put a brown wash on these. I'm also going to put a bit of a turquoise in here, just to give it kind of an ocean feel. My 2 main tiles are going to get a black wash. Again, we're at the ocean. I'm going to add a little bit of blue to these. Okay, and the dock pieces are going to get the brown wash as well. Now I'm going to go ahead and glue the pillars that go on top of the wharf and also the docks. And these will hold the rope so you don't fall off the dock. And now all I need to do is put some brown wash on the rope. Okay, back to the boats. I think I figured out a color scheme. I went with a nutmeg brown, and then I dry brushed the rails with a khaki tan, and that seemed to work. Final touch for the boats was just to put a wood dowel on the front here so it could be roped up at the dock. And here it is, my completed dungeon tile seaport landing, complete with a dock and boats, and I think it turned out pretty cool. So remember, this was pretty much all made out of cardboard, and it was a lot of fun to do, so thanks for the challenge, you guys. Hope you enjoyed the video.
A special thanks to Frankie D. Crafter and Bart's Craft. This really was a lot of fun. Thank you guys. And we'll see you next time. Oh, one more thing. There are 2 other crafters that have really inspired me. If you know who they are, please pass it along.